let's go, let's get it done, let's get started right this very second. And
so that was how we managed to save up quite a bit of cash to start with, because I think we were actually making a profit from the place. And
welcome to our channel. We're brothers that have got started in property, so we just wanted to set up this account or this page to really document our progress and just explain to you about how we got started, and where we got our money from, what sort of contacts that we had and what sort of inspiration we had, and just to really document our progress.
So how do we get started?
And started at a young age as well.
Yeah.
We did start, I'd say, earlier than most. We ended up buying the first property as a rental rather than buying the usual route, buying your own house and stuff.
Yeah.
But how did we actually start? So the initial inspiration for property investment started probably, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
When we went to London and met a friend there whose dad was actually quite successful in property already. And we got that first sort of taste of the luxury lifestyle. We had a massive penthouse apartment overlooking the Thames, and just put a different spin on things. Didn't have that sort of 9-to-5 job. He just had his own business, all revolving around rental properties and renovating properties, flipping them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he was the first person that we've known that was in property. We don't know anyone else. We come from a small town in Kent, in Ashford, and although there are property developers and investors in that area, we didn't really get much of a taste for it then. We were just working sort of like basic jobs in retail, in supermarkets. I think he was working in security, I was working, we were both working in Tesco's.
Yeah.
So we weren't really doing anything outstanding with our lives at the time, but we knew we wanted more. So I think our next step to getting started was just really saving up. To be honest, saving up everything we had, putting our resources together, and the fact that we could do it as a pair, I think was an advantage for us. Obviously, learning as much as possible as well, because it can be quite daunting for people to get started when they know absolutely nothing and they see all this glamorous lifestyle. People just say, yeah, get started in property, but people actually know very little. But we started off, I think you gave me the Rob Dix Property Investors for Beginners. That was where we really first started to learn and find out a little bit more information on how things work, like how much you need for a deposit, how to work out the return on investments, what areas to buy, how much it costs in each area, each step as well. So obviously you're going into Rightmove, speaking to letting agents and that sort of thing, and little tips and tricks on how you can get started as well.
I think from the beginning we were always kind of entrepreneurial, and we knew that working for companies wasn't going to be the way that we were going to spend the rest of our lives. We always knew that we were going to need to save up and invest and strike out on our own path. I think actually saving the money itself, we were quite fortunate. We had this friend that rented us a property, and he said to us, look, just save as much cash as you can, and then with that pool of money go out and invest it. And we got quite lucky.
We took it to the extreme. So we had, bearing in mind the rent we both live in London, and the rent could be quite expensive. You could be paying anything from £600-700 per room, and then for a 2-bedroom flat or a 3-bedroom flat, you're looking at spending thousands of pounds. So we were quite fortunate, as Lewis was saying, that the guy, our original mentor, said, look, you can have this property, and he let us essentially share the rooms. So we had bunk beds.
He didn't really care. He said, as long as you give me, I think it was 1,300-1,400 quid a month for a 2-bedroom flat in Tooting
in southwest London.
If you give me the money, I don't care how you rent that place out. If you want to rent the other room out, if you want to, whatever you like, you can do it. So
as long as the money's there at the end of the month,
as long as the rent's there for me, then I'm happy. So what we did was rent out one room immediately to someone else that we didn't know, and then we had 4 of us.
Well, it started off just you in one room, and then you rented the other room out. And then you invited our younger brother, James. There's 4 of us, 4 brothers in total. And then, so James was there, and then they were sharing a room. And then I moved in, so there was 3 of us in the bedroom. So of course we needed a bunk bed at that point. So we had a bunk bed and a single bed. And then
I thought the cash flow was looking a little bit light. I thought we could do with an extra bit of cash coming in. So
yeah.
we got a mutual friend of ours to come and join the room as well. So we had 2 bunk beds in the room.
Yeah.
And then one she put up with quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's just an extra man coming inside the flat every other day, like
which she was absolutely cool with. So
yeah.
So that was how we managed to save up quite a bit of cash to start with, because I think we were actually making a profit from the place. And not only were we living rent free, living rent free,
money,
as well as actually making money.
Yeah.
And that was how we built a bit of cash together.
Yeah, I was just about to tell them the story about how when we bought the second bunk bed, we made sure that we were sleeping on the nicer mattresses.
Yeah. Because when we picked up the bunk beds, there were 2 mattresses with the initial bunk bed that we got.
Yeah, they were a bit old, and
then we ordered one online with brand new mattresses. We thought it's a small bit of initial outlay just to eventually reap the rewards after the beds had paid for themselves. Yeah. But we definitely made sure that you and I got the brand new ones.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So essentially, we didn't overcomplicate things, did we? We spoke to estate agents, and then we were looking at properties that fit our criteria. I think we started looking up north because it was within our budget. It's much cheaper to purchase a house in, say, Leeds or Sheffield, Manchester, as opposed to living down south where you're paying a premium. Didn't overcomplicate things. Just spoke to the estate agent, found houses that we thought were suitable, that were within our range, and then just sort of did the viewings, had a little look around. We didn't know a huge amount at the time, did we? Like, it's the first time we ever looked for a property, but our criteria was, we were originally going to base it on getting a HMO, which is where you rent out the rooms individually, just to maximise your cash flow. Well, similar to what we were doing. Yeah, similar to what we were doing.
Yeah, the goal for us was cash flow. We wanted X amount of money coming in each month, so that if our jobs ever did go away for whatever reason, we'd have money to rely on, so that we could still live.
Yeah,
that was the goal. And then where do we go from there?
That was the reason why it was our criteria was because that had the highest return on it. Whereas you could rent out to a single family for a house up there for around £700-800, but we thought if we rent it out by the room, 4 rooms at say £300 each, we're maximising our income for it. How did the viewings go?
So whilst we were saving up, whilst we were actually just collecting money from the rent and then working on our jobs, we were doing a bit of research, watching YouTube videos, reading books, blah blah blah, speaking to our friend who kind of had been down the road before us. Once that actually, because there's only so much of that you can do before you think, I actually need to pull the trigger on something. So then we just started booking in viewings. Like Matt was saying earlier, we booked it in. We were looking at Leeds, and just because the northern cities, because the barrier to entry was a lot lower, we had about 25k-ish saved up, and
you need to put down 25%. Yeah. We bought within a limited company, so a little bit more information. So we wanted to set up within a limited company because Lewis is in the higher tax threshold. So we thought it made financial sense for us to go within a limited company, more a tax efficient way of doing it. I actually have my own company.
So you'd already built your own company already?
I'd already built my own company up. So that freed up a little bit of time and enabled us to do viewings a little bit more freely. So within a limited company you need to put down 25%, so it's slightly more than as opposed to if you was to do it on a residential mortgage where you need, say, 10%. And our criteria as well was to have somewhere that was, because we were looking at renting it by the room, to have somewhere like sort of 15 minutes within the city centre so that the people could actually travel in. That was another one of our requirements.
Yeah. So we wanted the ROI to be a certain amount. We wanted it to be commutable by public transport, and it needed to be around 100k or so that we could have a little bit of money left over to do any slight cosmetic work. We didn't really plan on having a massive project to start with on our first one. We wanted to just prove that it worked, because neither of us really
knew what we were doing. Really,
neither of us
all knew. We learned as we went along.
We wanted to have a property that cash flowed each month, just purely so that we knew that it would work, and then we'd go on to a bit more. It started off pretty vanilla, really. We didn't do anything crazy.
And what was the reason for us choosing the one that we ended up going for?
We did it on a basis of. It was just because it had an extra room, didn't it? It had a reception room.
Yeah, so the perfect way to go ahead with the HMO route, which we'll do another video on that in a bit more detail, and there's plenty of other YouTubers that have done videos on HMOs already. But yeah, so the incentive was to have as many rooms as possible, because that's the criteria on how much money you can make from it. And the house that we bought already had a second reception room, so we could just convert that into a bedroom straight away without having to add any partition walls and stuff like that. Because one of the other places that we looked at, I was going around with a tape measure and I was making sure the rooms were the right size, and we were just thinking as many heads we can get on pillows and stuff like that, like the more money we're making. But yeah, and then we had a few issues with purchasing it though, didn't we? Because we originally put in an offer.
Yeah, I made a rookie mistake. I called up the estate agent and I said, how much does the seller want to take this house off the market immediately? Because I just got so bored of waiting around and back and forth, and I just thought, you know what, I want a property now, let's just buy one. It's not going to be perfect, let's just get it done. So I said, how much to take the property off the market now? They gave me a number. I said, yeah, okay, that's fine, take it off. I then called Matt up and said, oh yeah, I think we're done on the house. I just called them up and said I'd pay the offer,
pay the asking price.
And then the next day they called me and said, oh, you know when we said we were going to cancel all the viewings, yeah, we did actually let one more person come to view it. He's put in a better offer than you, so sorry, he's got the house. Yeah. And I said, well,
so you originally put in an offer for 100, which was the asking price.
Yeah, it was 100.
And then they counterbid us. How much was it?
Yeah, they put in 105 or something.
And then we ended up paying
108.
108 for it in the end.
Yeah, after a bit of back and forth, ended up paying 108. They obviously knew we wanted it, because I stupidly. Well, yeah, that's how not to do it.
Yeah. But also,
next time I wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah, but also the cost of not starting.
Yeah, exactly.
Is actually sometimes, and for most people, more costly than actually just paying asking price, because people wait years for the perfect deal to come along. Yeah, they might save themselves a couple £1,000 on the purchase price, which is a good thing to do. But the cost of actually, well, if you had bought a house 2 years earlier, you could have had £600-700 a month coming in. So there is that as well. You do need to have a fine line and a balance between it. And I would say that's where we complement each other, because I'm sort of, right, let's go, let's get it done, let's get started right this very second. And I am rational, but you are like, right, no, let's take a step back for a second. And then we have sort of a balance in between.
Yeah, sometimes so many step backs that we actually go backwards. But
yeah. But I still think it works out in our favour.
Yeah, it does.
To have two heads thinking about it, or two minds thinking about it. But yeah, there does come a point when you think, right, if you've got the money and you're ready to go and you've got enough knowledge, then just go ahead with it. So don't wait too long. That's going to cost you.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect, is it? You just need to get started. As soon as you feel like you're starting to see things that you've read before or you kind of understand already, then I think you need to just start getting involved, and you're going to have to figure these things out as you go along. You're never going to know everything as things. I'm just glad we started. We've learned so much along the way on our, albeit brief, journey so far. That we would have never known. We would have never learned from books and stuff. You don't really get the full experience until you fully get stuck in. You need that hands-on experience. You need. The problems themselves are really, really simple. Really, there's always someone out there that can. If it's a water issue, you've got a plumber. If it's an electrical issue, you've got an electrician. As long as you've got the internet in your hands, you just call these guys and they know what they're doing. It helped that Matt's business is already in the sort of trades and labour
construction industry.
Yeah. So he knew if a plumber comes and says, "Oh, we need that X amount," Matt's got the sort of know-how to go. He's taking a bit of.
He's taking the mickey.
Yeah.
Like obviously, he's charging you far too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like there's always someone there to teach you and to help you out along the way if something goes wrong. But what they might want to know is how we ended up purchasing the property in terms of the financial side. So we couldn't get a mortgage or within a limited company. This is something that people don't really talk about. I've never heard anyone on YouTube or anyone talking about it, but if you don't own your own home, then you have to pay a premium on the mortgage or the loan.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. I've not heard a single person talk about it. You might have heard someone say it, but we didn't know that until we thought, right, let's buy it. And then they said, oh, they were going to charge us like 13%, as opposed to the typical rate, like 3 or 4% interest on the loan. So we started asking around, and we thought it would actually make more financial sense to borrow the money and buy the house in cash, which sounds daunting, but there are actually more people out there than you think that are happy, that, like us, potential property investors, are looking for investments. You've got people that are cash rich that don't necessarily want the hassle of speaking to estate agents, doing viewings and stuff. They're cash rich, and they don't, and time poor. So you need to find those people, whether it be a family or friend. And fortunately, Lewis worked with someone that did that. So we borrowed the money off him. And what was the interest that we ended up paying with him? Although it was still high, it wasn't anywhere as high as...
I thought I could pay a generic company X amount. I think it was actually 13%. Pay a bank 13% to borrow the money, or I had a guy sitting next to me at work that was looking to invest some money. I said to him, look, I can give you 10%. Just because I knew it would have the added flexibility. We get along, we're colleagues. So he was happy to go ahead with that, and we wrote up a contract that said if we just disappear off to Barbados or something, then he gets the house. But of course, the goal is to be doing this for the foreseeable future. So we wanted to just get started. It came down to, again, just needing to get started. So this is by no means the perfect way, but it just goes to show that you can start.
And if you hit a hurdle, someone's there to support you, or there'll be a way of working it out.
Yeah, exactly. You can start, and you can still get a profitable buy-to-let property, even when things go wrong.
We had 25k, we borrowed 75k. I think by that point we had actually saved up a little bit more money, so we could pay the difference that it cost and having to buy the house for 108 as opposed to 100.
We had a bit of spare cash to pay for the legals.
Yeah.
The stamp duty, the surveyors, and that kind of thing.
And that as well is something that people need to know. It's not an overnight process buying a house. It can be much quicker, but for us, how long did it take for the house process to actually complete? So it was like 6 months or something, wasn't it?
It took a while, yeah.
The homeowner had to get us certificates and things like that took a while to find, and then there was delays with the solicitors and delays with the sellers and stuff. So it took us a much longer than we thought it was. That's another reason why get started as soon as possible. So if you're waiting, at least you got started sooner, and it gets done before. But we got a little bit carried away, didn't we? Because once we bought the house, we thought we had made it. We thought we had made it. We started. We was renting a fancy car, driving up to Leeds from London. What was it? A Jaguar.
Yeah, we rented like a brand new Jag 4x4 because we thought that was it. We've agreed on the first property. We're going to pick up the keys. We've completed the game.
Yeah, we completed.
We picked up the car.
Yeah.
Got upgraded. Did everything. Really made it a special occasion. Got there. But we were so late.
It took about 6 hours to drive up to Leeds from. Oh no, sorry, it was a few hours to drive up there because we finished work later.
Yeah. By the time we got there, it dawned on us that we hadn't booked a hotel, and there was no furniture in the house, so we ended up sleeping in the car.
It had heated seats.
Yeah,
it had heated seats.
So we were just waking up every sort of half an hour to just crank the engine on, put the heated seats on, just get it warm enough to fall asleep for another half an hour.
Yeah, but we thought we were running out of oxygen every now and again, didn't we?
Yes.
And Leeds, right, the particular area, Leeds, I love the area, but it comes alive in the night time. Like we saw more people at night than we did in the daytime.
Yeah.
Once we finally had the property, it needed some cosmetic work. Like as Lewis mentioned earlier, it wasn't sort of a huge project that we wanted to take on. We weren't converting it into flats. We weren't sort of doing any major development work. It was just sort of cosmetic stuff, just to sort of freshen it up and get it ready for the prospective tenant. We did encounter an issue where there was damp in one of the bedrooms upstairs in the loft, and we couldn't for the life of us work out what it was. We just thought that it was poor ventilation, or it just needed replastering, or it just needed repainting, or damp proof, put like some damp seal paint on it. but the water kept on coming through, and we couldn't for the life of us think about what it was. And then a builder said to us that it could potentially be something to do with the chimney breast. Because it did look old, didn't it? Like, I'll put a picture up on screen, but it looked old, and we thought that's got to be it. Maybe there's a crack on the chimney breast, because it was right next to where the chimney flue was.
The way,
the way that it was there. We ended up paying about £4,000 in total, getting a new chimney breast put on and scaffolding around the entire house, because it wasn't safe for them to just go up on a ladder. So we ended up having to pay for scaffolding, get council permission to put the scaffolding up as well, and then so we had completed the work on the chimney breast. And they were still damp, so we ended up thinking, right, it's got to be. What was the solution in the end? We had to there wasn't any ventilation, because the chimney, the entrance, where the fireplace was, had been sealed up because it was quite an old property. So there was no air ventilation, and that was what was causing the water to come through. So it was literally just a £10 fix by knocking a brick out and then putting a ventilation cap on it. So
we spent on YouTube or something, didn't you?
Because I was looking up. I was looking up on there, thinking, what is it? What is causing it? And then I saw someone on YouTube. Literally, he said, it's if the fireplace is sealed up and there's no ventilation, even if one part is open, if there's no exit on the opposite side, there is no flow of air, and that's what causes the damp. So if any of you are having damp, that's probably the likelihood of that. We fixed that. And then the rest of it was just sort of re-plastering. We saved some money in the kitchen as well, because our builder was quoting us about £6,000 or £7,000 to install a new kitchen, and we just thought, look, to save money, we just ended up buying new doors, so keeping the actual structure of the kitchen, but then just putting new doors. And I think we ended up spending, including some painting and some plastering and stuff, I think it was about £1,000. So we saved about £6,000. So
there was nothing wrong structurally with the kitchen, was it?
No,
it just needed freshening up. And we were doing this. I mean, we just shelled out about £4,000 unexpectedly as well. So we were trying to keep it within reasonable budget. And then what happened then? Then they just decided to change the laws so that we couldn't do a HMO.
So the law for that area, I think there's a rule called Article 4, and also the law changed on January the 6th. So we completed the property. It was transferred into our name in November, and then by January the 6th the following year, so just a couple of months later, they said, you can't actually do a HMO in that area. So we thought, had to completely redo our business plan. We thought we was going to be making X amount of money, and that completely changed. Which is why it's good to have a couple of strategies with a property. I think now, having had this issue, we've learnt to, when looking at a property, to know that if XYZ happens, that you've got another sort of contingency.
Route to go. Contingency plan. Which fortunately it will show you the numbers of this particular property, and show you how it still worked, even just renting it out as a single let. Well, that was the next immediate thing. We thought, right, if we can't rent out by the room, we can have to rent out to a family. So we went with a local letting agent. Bearing in mind at this period there was a pandemic going on, so we were struggling to find someone, and it was sort of it was on the market for about 6 to 8 weeks or something, wasn't it? And we couldn't find a tenant, so we weren't panicking. But we were thinking, right, well, we've just lost. They suggested the classic estate agent. Just drop the price.
That's the immediate thing. So it was up for 775 at first. That was what they recommended to us. But that's probably a trick that they had used to get us to go with them. They were like, we can get you this much money. And then they were like, all right, well, we can't actually find you some of that. Let's drop the price. And it got so low. It was like £700 a month, which was like 100 less than we thought. And then the letting agent was going to charge us 10% of it anyway, plus the VAT, to manage it and find you a tenant. So then we thought, who would be able to help us definitely find a tenant? So we looked into going through the council, and then we thought, right, the waiting list for a council house is like 18 months or 2 years, like sometimes many years for people. So we went with them. And then we found out that we could actually rent the property out for more, and we wouldn't have to pay a letting agency fee. So a lot of people are quite sceptical about going with a council tenant. What's it called, DSS or some other terms and stuff. People that essentially get benefits, but that didn't really worry us too much because the council pays directly to the landlord. So you don't have to worry about your money going to the tenant and then them spending it and them saying, "Oh, sorry, I've got no money left." Like
bought a load of scratch cards.
Yeah, buy a load of
Or a few
scratch cards.
Stellas.
Yeah, a few Stellas or anything like that. So they paid us direct. So we thought, right, well, we're saying,
Oh my god.
okay, sorry, we just had a little mishap there. So we went through the council. They found us a tenant within a few hours for someone to potentially move in. And then so we just went on the internet. What do we get signed? An AST, which is an assured short hold tenancy.
Yep.
Yeah. So got them to sign that, and then the tenant moved in the next day. We didn't even have to furnish the house. That was quite a fortunate contingency again that we went through. So we ended up getting a higher yield, an immediate tenant, didn't have to pay a letting agency fee. So it's definitely something to consider going through the council.
I think to stress, no one told us that these things were going to happen. If you could have told me at the beginning, the house is going to cost you an extra £6,000 that you haven't budgeted for. You're not going to get a tenant for X amount of time. You're not even going to be able to do a HMO. You're just going to have to rent it out as a single let. And there's going to be a global pandemic. I would have said, I'll just buy Bitcoin.
Be connected!
Early, actually, I probably would have made some cash. But despite all of that, the place is profitable. And the learning experience is just more valuable. The actual lessons learned are more valuable than the thousands of pounds that we would have made this year. That we have still made. It's just the key point is to get started, be sensible, do your research. But the problems in property, it's not like a stock market crash that happens overnight or something.
No.
These issues and these situations that arise, they happen over days and weeks and months
and years. And things like
so there's plenty of time to do research, to get the right answer, to go back with, and there's so many people out there that want to help you. There's great content being put out on YouTube and great content on Spotify podcasts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the reason why we want to do this, because we can explain the hurdles and things that we've encountered, so that if anyone in the comments below us is considering buying somewhere and wants to ask us like how we manage to resolve issues and stuff like that, you can see us do it firsthand to either prevent you from doing it, or sometimes you can't prevent these things from happening, but just to know how to resolve them, like different options you have. Like going from a HMO to a family let, going from a family let to then going to a family let through the council. Like these are things that we've just learned that now we can teach other people so that they can resolve their issues much faster.
Yeah.
And the process is the same whether you're buying a 100k house or you're buying a 500k house or a 50k house. Like the same process. So you speak to the letting agent. Well, first of all, you go online, you find a property you like. Then you speak to the estate agent. You book the viewings. You view the ones that you like if it's within your criteria, if you're going to go for a HMO family let, and then get some solicitors involved, find a builder if you need any cosmetic work. Like it's the same process.
Yeah, and once you've got these contacts done, you call your same solicitor, you call your same mortgage broker, you call your plumber, electrician, your handyman, whichever one you've got. So we're ready to go again. So we'll have about 75k, maybe more after everything's paid, but about 75k to go again. We'll probably look to get 2 more. I'm just talking in this sort of refinance.
With this refinance the amount we've got, So we're going to stick to the same area or similar areas up north within the same price range. We think that works for us well. We've got contacts, we've got builders up there. We've got our solicitors sorted. So we've got our mortgage and banks ready to lend us again, so everything's pretty much set up for us. So it's just a case of us just getting started again. So we're just waiting for this money to come through, and then we can get the ball rolling. And we're not pretending to be experts at all. We're just documenting what we're doing. There's going to be plenty of footage and plenty of videos of us like sort of buying and going through the process, so you can join us on that journey, and the issues that we encounter. and then just talk about the numbers as well, because in black and white, so you can see exactly what we're doing, being entirely transparent. We're not lying. We're not pretending to be anyone that we're not.
It just goes to show you don't need to be a whiz kid or financial genius to do these things. We've had almost every single issue. Thankfully not every single, but a fair amount of stuff's gone wrong, and we still come out the other side of it wanting to go again. So if that can be the inspiration you need, that things are going to go wrong, and you're still going to come out the other side okay, live to tell another tale.
And also the fact that we haven't done anything special, and we haven't really been given anything on a plate. Obviously, we've borrowed some money, but they were through our contacts that we had built up, and it just goes to show that it is achievable from anyone.